Yo, what's going on? I'm Jay Cartere, and this is the Jay Cartere Show Podcast. Now, in this episode, I want to talk about suicide. And suicide is a very touchy subject. And I want to help those who may be struggling with suicidal thoughts. Maybe you're thinking, life is shit. I just want it over and done with. If that's you, then I'm hoping that this episode will help you move away from that mindset and move towards something more positive and see that there's opportunity for you. Now, I won't be having my pre-roll ad on this particular episode because I don't want that to dissuade anyone from the message that I'm trying to put across here. And I don't want that to be in the way of helping people, as well as, some people will be like, oh, it's tasteless and shit like that. But honestly, I don't give a shit about what other people think. But I do want to make sure that this episode is produced in the best light possible so that it can actually help people, so that people don't come into it with skepticism or anything like that. Now, first of all, I want to talk about my experience with, suicide and that sort of stuff. Then I want to talk a little bit about, how life can change and how you can get out of the terrible situation that you may be in. And then I kind of want to share my thoughts on suicide and how I view it. So that's what we're going to do. Hopefully I can forget those points. I can remember those points, not forget them, because I haven't written them down. So first of all, my experience with suicide. So I have had suicidal thoughts in the past myself. I have also known people that have been suicidal, and obviously I've tried to talk them out of that and all that sort of shit. And as far as I know, the people who I've known, who are close to me that have been suicidal, haven't committed suicide. But I believe I've had a family member that committed suicide, but it wasn't like a family member that was close to me, so it didn't really affect me. But I'm not 100% sure on that. So that's where I'm at on suicide and how it's affected me in my life. So let me talk about my own suicidal thoughts, my own reasons for ever being suicidal and that sort of shit. And this is really vulnerable, but it's necessary. So I honestly, if I think back, I don't remember exactly when I was at the point where I was thinking, okay, let's get it over and done with. But I was definitely at a point in my life where I thought that I would die eventually because I was broke. And this was about early last year and the previous year before that. So 2017, early 2017 and 2016, let's say then, maybe even before then. But I was trying to, what was I doing at that point in time? I think I was focusing on the YouTube stuff. And if you know about YouTube AdSense ain't pretty at all. It's very much a grind to be putting out YouTube videos and trying to be chasing that YouTube AdSense, which I'm so happy I'm not doing that these days. But that's what I was doing. And I was at a point in my life where, I was losing money every month. I had a minuscule amount of savings and I was living at the bare minimum necessary to stay alive. I had food and shelter. So, I couldn't complain about that. I've known people that have been homeless and, had to not eat and shit. And that is just the worst. I don't know if I personally have the strength to come through a situation like that. And I have the utmost respect for anyone who was ever homeless and got out of that. I just think that is just fucking wild. Because when you're homeless, you have a lot less opportunities available to you just because of the nature of not having a home. It's hard to charge phone and all that sort of stuff. I'm sure you find a way to get around that and be able to do that, charge it in McDonald's and that sort of shit and, that sort of stuff. But it just makes life so much harder. And especially if you're sleeping in an unsafe place, that's going to give you a whole lot of anxiety. And it's just... That's a whole different subject. I guess we'll talk about homelessness at a different point because I think that is that's rock bottom for real. Like, that is rock bottom. I never hit rock bottom. I never hit rock bottom because I was never going to give myself the opportunity to do that, and I kept on moving forward and working. But I was at a point where I thought, eventually, if things don't pick up, I'm going to lose all my money. I'm not going to have enough money to pay the bills, and I am going to be homeless. And then at that point, I might as well die, because, that's just long. At that point, I might as well die. I did think about, how I would end it myself, but honestly, don't really have the courage to do that. I don't really like pain. I wouldn't purposely cause pain to myself. I'm not that sort of person. I avoid pain and that sort of shit, so I wouldn't want to do that. And, I thought about pills and, that sort of stuff. And I'm like, what happens if I try to kill myself and then I survive? Then I'll just be fucked. And what happens if I take a bunch of pills and then I'm paralyzed? Like, those sorts of things freak me out. Especially not knowing what happens after death also really freaks me out. So, I'm not as courageous. I'm not courageous enough to die and do it myself, to be honest. So that killed those those suicidal ambitions, so to speak. But I have, at points in my life been depressed, although I don't think I've ever suffered from depression. Now, my wife thought that I was suffering from depression at one point in my life, like if you say like last year and stuff, when I was like broke and things weren't going the way I wanted to. But I don't think that's depression. I think if you're broke and things aren't going the way you want to, and you have a reason to be upset and depressed, then that's not depression. That's just you being depressed and being sad. That's how I feel in that sort of regard. To me, depression is if you don't really have a good reason to be depressed and you're still depressed, or even if things are going well, you're upset, and that sort of thing. That's where depression comes in for me. Although I'll probably do an episode about mental health at a later date. I don't want to go too deep into that now. But basically, that's my experiences with suicide. I came through the other end. I didn't kill myself, and things got better. Things got way better. This year, things have been very, very good. My business is, growing and becoming successful, and I'm having more time to do things that I would like to do. And I'm my own boss. I'm able to do whatever I want every day. And life is way better than it was a year ago. So that's kind of what I want to talk to you about. If you're feeling suicidal or you're depressed and you don't like your life and you feel like it's going to be this way forever, the truth is it doesn't have to be that way forever. You have the power to change your life, especially if you have the opportunity to listen to this podcast right about now. Because if you have the opportunity to listen to this podcast, then you have access to the internet. And if you have access to the internet and you have access to a smartphone, you have a lot of opportunities at your fingertips. The internet it's a really big opportunity. And I think, especially if you grew up with the internet, I think people undersell it and they don't realize what's possible there. You could create a business around something that you love and get paid to do something you love. Like, how amazing is that? Like, that is fucking wild. You can just do what you love, and if you find enough people who love it too, you can find a way to monetize that and live your life and become successful doing something that you enjoy every day. Now, it's not easy. It's definitely not easy. It takes a lot of hard work, takes a lot of knowledge, takes a lot of research, all that sort of stuff. So yeah, it's not easy. You won't be able to do it overnight. But if you make a conscious effort to change your life and work towards a specific goal that you really believe in, and you've got a real reason why you want to achieve this goal, and you just focus on that, and you continually work forward towards that goal, you will see changes in your life. As long as you're working forward towards that goal correctly. Because if you do the, bullshit towards that goal and you don't know what you're doing and you're not going in the right direction, then of course it's going to take a little bit longer. But once you know what you're doing, if you go towards a goal and you know what you're doing, you've done the research, you've checked out what works, what doesn't work, and you experiment with it, you see what doesn't work, you try out something else, you keep on experimenting until you find what works, you will find yourself moving closer to your goal, and you could change your life in a year. It's probably unlikely you'll change your life in a year. It'll probably take like 3 years for you to really reach a specific goal and do, create a business where you can do something that you love and be able to pay the bills. I'm not talking about being rich and famous or anything like that. That's not what we're talking about. That can come down the line if that's something that you really, really want. But if that's something that you really, really want, then you may have to look a bit deeper. And that may be a goal that you're creating from your own insecurities. That may not actually be what you want. Like, personally, I don't give a shit about being rich and famous. So that's not what I'm chasing. I don't care if that comes. If it comes, it's great. The richer I am, the easier it will be for me to help other people. That's the only reason I want to be rich, so that I don't have to worry about making money. And I can focus my time on helping other people who didn't have the opportunity or didn't have the education to become entrepreneurs, and help them to become entrepreneurs. And that's something that I'm really, really passionate about. So yeah, your whole life can change in a few years if you're really focused and you move towards something ferociously, like I have done over the past few years. Although I worked really, really hard at trying to make my music career successful and trying to make a living from that. And, I pivoted a bunch, and now I'm where I'm at. So if I continue doing that, maybe it would have become successful. But, I spent a lot of years focusing on that, and it didn't come into fruition the way I wanted it to. But if I knew back then what I know now, I would have been able to do that much easier. So, it can take a while, but you have to not get disheartened. And I know how easy it is for me to say that. It's hard for you to actually be in it and not get disheartened. But you need to believe in the fact that consistency and hard, smart work over time will equal success. It will. Even if it doesn't do it in 3 months, it may do it in 3 years. It will eventually, and you just have to keep at it and keep on working at this goal and working towards it every single day. And hopefully, when you get to that point, hopefully you're not suicidal anymore, because you've realized that life can be better, and you've come out the light at the end of the tunnel, and you're able to have a different perspective on life. Thirdly, I forgot what the third thing is supposed to be. My opinions on suicide. Okay, so I do believe that suicide is selfish, although I don't believe that being selfish is inherently wrong. I think you need to be selfish in order to be selfless, because if you're selfless and you're not selfish at all, then you really limit your ability to help others. Although, I'm not saying that committing suicide is going to help others. I'm not saying that. That was just my thoughts on selfishness versus selflessness and all that sort of stuff. But, committing suicide is selfish. I don't believe it's good. I think it's really stupid, to be honest. And I don't mean to say that to talk down on anyone or to call anyone stupid. I just think the solution that suicide provides to any problem is a really bad, ill-chosen solution, because it's a permanent solution. Once you kill yourself, that's it. It's done. You don't know what's happening on the other end. You don't know what happens after you kill yourself or anything like that. You don't have a clue. But once you do that, it's done. And if you was feeling, super upset today, you may have felt great in 2 years. You may have created a great life for yourself and brought some great people around you that you enjoyed spending time with. And you may have created a great life for yourself. But now you never have the opportunity to get there. That's why I believe that is, a stupid thing to do, because you're really cutting short your opportunities and you're not giving yourself the time that you need to see if things get better. And I do believe that things will get better if you really want them to, and you really focus on trying to make things get better, and you can move away from, terrible situations eventually, if you really, really put the effort into looking into how you can solve these problems instead of just being super upset that these problems exist in the first place. And that's what I see a lot of people do it. You know, a lot of people just complain and are upset online and all this sort of shit. They're upset about the problems that are in the world. They're upset about the problems that are in your life. Fair enough. You know, be upset. Cool. You can be upset, but don't dwell. Do not wallow in self-pity and sit around and be upset forever, because that does nothing for you. And, you know, if you're depressed and you're going through depression or anything like that, and you've got mental health issues, then look into the resources that are out there and try to get better. See if you can get therapy. See if there's any medication that will work for you, that won't also give you a bunch of side effects that's going to make you even worse. Like, look into the solutions out there. And anytime you see a problem, you should be looking for the solution. That's how I live my life. If there's a problem, if something happens that's wrong, I'll feel sorry for myself for about a minute. I'll be like, oh, why does this happen to me and shit like that. I'll be like that for a minute. I'll have some self-pity, but then I'm looking at the solutions. Then I'm looking at, okay, how can we prevent this from happening ever again? Or if this is something that's ongoing, how can we change this? How can I find a solution to this problem so that it's no longer a problem? And once you start looking at things in that light, you'll start solving a lot more problems and you will start making a better life for yourself. But yeah, I believe suicide is not the right choice for anyone, to be honest. I think that whatever situation you are in, if you're listening to this and you've got access to the internet and you've got a smartphone, you are probably living a better life than a lot of people out there. So I would say be thankful for what you have. Although, you know, you may be going through a bunch of shit, and I'm not saying that you're not. I'm not trying to diminish the problems that you're going through, diminish the stress that you may be having, diminish the mental anguish that you may be experiencing. I don't want to do that in any way, but I want you to realize and understand that it could be worse. It definitely could be worse. And just because it could be worse doesn't mean that you don't have problems. Not saying that, but it could be worse. And you should be thankful that it's not worse. Try to be thankful for the things that you do have instead of being upset about the things that you don't have. And I know that's easier said than done, but try it and try and view life that way and see if it helps. You know, I'm not a therapist, I'm not a psychologist, I'm not anything like that. So don't come to me for, you know, your mental health issues and all that sort of shit. I do want you to leave comments down below if you've ever gone through something like this, if you've ever been, you know, suicidal and you've come out on the other end, and please leave your stories, as I think that will help other people get through it, anyone who's going through this issue as well. And, you know, if you are going through that issue, then please leave your comments down below, and maybe someone can help you see the positive in that and help you, you know, get through that. It may not be me, to be honest, because if you're going through something that I believe is inherently a problem, like you've got something that's affecting your physical health or your mental health, and it can lead to you dying, like something like that, then I will see that as a legitimate problem, and I will want to, you know, engage in a conversation and see if there's any solution that you can find from that. But if you're just upset about something, then I cannot deal with that from multiple people saying, oh, I'm upset about this, I'm upset about that, and to try and get people to see the positive in life, because it becomes very, very tiring. And it becomes like that when you're trying to deal with someone who's got mental health issues and they're a suicidal person as well, because you try and talk them down from this, you try and give them the solutions, you try and help them change their mindset, but if they don't want to do that, then you cannot do that for them. And I'm just not willing to get in the comments and tell everyone everything's going to be okay. Hopefully you've listened to the whole podcast and you've heard my thoughts on the subject, and you've heard that there are solutions, and that you can find solutions, and everything can be okay. Everything can be okay. Maybe everything will be okay. I'm saying that now. but I can't go through, you know, everyone's problems and baby you. Like you got to get through to the real world, and you got to realize that the real world is suffering, and you got to deal with it and move forward. And it's either you deal with it or you don't. And those are really your two options. And I personally chose to deal with it. I chose to deal with the problems. I chose to work towards creating solutions for the problems in my life. I was, you know, upset because I was broke and I was living a low quality of life, and I focused on building my businesses and really focusing down on that to try to lift myself up out of poverty and try to make a better life for myself, so that I can also help others make a better life for themselves. And I'm on the journey. I'm not saying that I'm there yet. I'm not super successful or whatever, but my earnings have really changed since last year, and things are way better than last year. I can tell you that. I can tell you that for a fact. So, you know, things can change. And yeah, I think that's all I've really got to say on this. I don't want to just drone on for no good reason. But please let me know your experiences with suicide. Has anyone around you committed suicide or anything like that? If it's too deep and you don't want to share it, then fair enough, you don't need to. But I do want to kind of create a space where people can talk about this and maybe help each other through these problems, and try to get everyone on a positive track so that they can get their life back on track and get to where they really want in life. Because suicide is not the answer, man. It really is not the answer. And if this video can help just one person realize that suicide is not the answer and that they have other options, then, you know, this was great. Or this episode, because it will be a video as well, but that's what I want to do with this, and I hope that it does that. You know, if you want to rate the podcast and all that sort of stuff, please do so. Leave a comment, like, and subscribe if you want to do that. And I will see you in the next episode, which may be more upbeat, it may not. I don't know what we're going to talk about next, but I'll see you then, and I hope you're still around. Peace out. If you want to learn how I got over 23,000 subscribers and millions of views on my YouTube gaming channel, then you are in luck. Sign up to this free course right now. Link will be in the card, in the description, and in the pinned comment, or go to growonyoutube.com/20k SEO course. In this course, you will learn the best way to write your video titles, tags, and descriptions to help you rank on the first page of YouTube. It's simple when you know what to do. I'll also show you a hack that will help you choose the right key phrases and help you create videos that can rank and get views no matter what game you play. Stop struggling to grow your YouTube gaming channel and start doing what works. Click on the link in the description, or go to growonyoutube.com/20k SEO course. This course will not be up forever, so get in there as soon as possible. I hope to see you here soon, and I wish you the best of luck on your journey of turning your passion into your career.
It's been a cold winter and it's lasted far too long, so all this warmth I share with you